Hi, it's Dorothy Guining with Scrapbooking Quebec. This week I'm joining the Punched Out Thursday to Die For collaboration. We share ideas every Thursday on what to do with your punches and your dies. I'm going to put links to Ronnie's, Kathy's, Krista's, Rebecca's, and Sonia's channels below, so be sure to check out what they're up to this week. Here's what I'm going to be doing. I am going to be creating all of those embellishments with tools from my stash. This is a very easy page to create. However, I do have a trick or two to share with you. Here's what I'm going to be using. I have material from Photoplay Paper's Cat Lover collection, and that lined paper is from the Paige Evans Go the Scenic Route collection. As for tools, here's what I'm going to be using. I will talk about them throughout the process. I'll also talk about substituting because for most of these you don't need exactly what I have. Also, I'll list everything I'm using in the description box below in case you're interested. Now on my desk I have a piece of 12 by 12 Basil Marshmallow cardstock. I matted one photo in advance. Actually, I double matted it. Those are the main papers I plan to use. However, I do have a handful of scraps because I will be doing punch art. Most of it is from that Photoplay Paper Cat Lover collection, but I do have some cardstock there. And I have a basket of tools. I have more than I actually use, but anyway, they're on my desk. So the first thing I'm going to do is prepare my foundation page. And I'm going to cut down a bunch of strips of paper here. I will put measurements for everything I'm doing on the screen, but I do want to point out the measurements are for the visible page parts only. I typically cut mine a little bit larger and overlap them, but that's up to you whether or not you want to do that. What I'm doing right now is adhering a narrow strip of paper on the right hand side of the page, and I'm doing it behind the foundation page. And then once it's down there, what I'm going to do is trim that entire page down to 12 by 12. Once that's done, I'm going to take the two other strips of paper and adhere them to the left-hand side of the page. So that's going to be a large border. And this essentially is a very common foundation page design. A lot of people use it. You're going to see I place a photo on the left-hand side on the border and do a lot of embellishing elsewhere. So once I get that in place, I'm going to show you where I am going to place the photo. And I am going to take that lined paper from the Paige Evans Go the Scenic Route collection. I have two 6-inch squares here, and I'm starting with this border punch, or circle punch, I guess I should say, from Creative Memories. What you do is you take a 6-inch block of paper, you punch out 4 corners, and then flip it around and do the very same thing. And out pops this scalloped circle. It's absolutely gorgeous. I got it free with purchase at one point, and I absolutely love it. So I'm going to do it ×2. And obviously, if you don't have this punch, you can use a circle or you can use a doily. Now, I did mine in this lined paper. I plan to do some journaling on it. But even if you have paper that's not lined, you can still do your journaling on it. And you can always draw the lines if that's what you'd like to do. So you can kind of see where I'm going to place them. One of them is going to be under the photo there in the top left, and the other one is going to go in that corner in the bottom right. So you see me trimming it down to make a corner there. And what I'll do with the one on the left-hand side is I'm just going to slice one side off just a little bit there. And then what I'll do is adhere all of these pieces to the page before I start the embellishment process. Anyway, like I said, this is quite a common page design, but I hope my embellishment process isn't a common embellishment process because I would like to teach you something, of course. What I'm going to do when I adhere all of this down is get out my big shot, and the first thing I'm going to create is a vase. So that's what you're going to see me get out right now. And I'm using an oval die here. So the idea here is I'm taking this paper, and I'm taking this paper, which is like border strips. It's part of that Cat Lover collection. And I'm placing my oval on it, but I'm being careful because I want it to go straight across. With circles, it's really easy to cut things out because it doesn't really matter. You can always make it work for you. But with ovals, you got to be a little bit more careful. That's why you see me fussing about there. Also, you may notice that my die is a little bit bigger, wider than the paper. That's because I'm going to be cutting off the top and the bottom. I'm showing you there a template I made before this video with the same oval. So what I did was I cut a bit off the bottom and off the top. I cut more off the bottom than the top, and you'll see in a moment the vase, the bottom part, the base is larger than the opening of the vase at the top. So that's going to go on my page right here, and I am going to be creating a bouquet of flowers to come out of it. I'm going to take this green paper, again from the very same collection, and I'm going to cut a bunch of slivers of paper. I won't put measurements for this, but basically they are slivers. They have to be big enough so that they stay together, but as narrow as possible. And there is a technique that I'll be showing you with this in a few moments. That's why they have to be super, super narrow. So I'm just cutting down a bunch of these. I don't know how many I cut, but I end up having 7 flowers in my vase, so I need at least 7 of them. Then what I'm going to do is cut myself out some flowers. Now I'm going to be using a punch from Stampin' Up. It's called a Perennial Flower Punch. Actually, I used it last time for the Punched Out Thursday series. You can use any flower punch at all, or die, of course. Anyway, I've just been having fun with this one lately. So I'm cutting out a bunch of petals in that yellow zigzag paper, and I also do it in that fishbone paper. So clearly I'm not making your typical flowers. I'm just having fun using up the scraps in this collection, and it's just kind of a fun page. So I stopped the film. I continued making the flowers, and you can see I've adhered some of them together already. I'm doing one for you now on screen. So you basically take 2 of the punch outs, you adhere them one on top of the other, you kind of overlap them so you can see all of the petals. I adhered them together. I took a bone folder and I kind of rolled up the petals a bit just to add a bit of texture. And those circles that I'm putting in the middle, those are 3/4 inch circles. And each one of those has a double layer of cardstock. I just wanted to make a more substantial embellishment. Now what you see me doing is adhering my vase to 2 more ovals that I cut out off camera. So what I'm doing is essentially making a chipboard vase. I want them just to be a little bit thicker, again, to create an embellishment that's just a little bit more substantial, a little less flat. So I'm just being careful, making sure I'm adhering it properly on that printed paper. Just I wanted the oval to fit up, and I'm trimming it with my trimmer, and I'm going to do the very same thing with the second piece of cardstock. Again, ovals are a little bit more tricky than working with circles, I find. However, I do like how the oval looks as a vase. So I also really like using that border strip paper for the vase. That was kind of fun for me, and honestly a little bit unplanned. So that was kind of a fun little discovery because I never know what to do with that border strip paper. So you're going to see how I plan to place all of this on my page. So this is going to be kind of important here. Basically, I'm placing my vase where I plan to adhere it later on. Then I'm taking a handful of flowers. I end up doing 7, an odd number, and I'm just creating kind of an organic cluster where I want them to be adhered. And I'm putting a dot in pencil under each one of them. I also put a dot at the opening. I just marked the opening of the vase on the page as well. So you see me using this adhesive called Sticky Specks by Ecstasy Crafts. And I'm adhering my stems. And this is the technique I want you to watch. Basically, you can use whatever adhesive you like to use for detailed fine pieces. This one here, you place the piece on it between the yellow paper and the cellophane, and it picks up the adhesive on the detailed piece. Then what I do, once the adhesive is on it, I start the stem at the dot where the flower eventually will be adhered. That's why I place the pencil marks underneath the flower placement. Then what I'm doing is taking my finger and kind of guiding the stem, curving it to make it look kind of natural and organic. And I'm flowing it down towards the opening of that vase into the vase. That's why I marked in pencil the opening of the vase. So you can kind of see the stems are all crisscrossed over each other. So I start where the flower will be placed. I use my finger as a guide to kind of round it and so that it lands in the pot. Once I get all that down, I adhere the flower pot to the page, and now all I'm doing is adhering my flowers at the tips of each one of those stems. So that's why those slivers of paper had to be very, very narrow, because they were so narrow, I was able to curve them. If they were thicker, I wouldn't have been able to do that. I'm showing you the title that I cut out in those Tim Holtz Alpha dies. Again, they will be listed in the description box below. My title is Bad Boy. It's about Chester, who's pretending to be an angel in the plants, but as soon as we turn our heads, he's playing in the dirt. Anyway, it's on wax paper. Not quite sure where I'm going to be placing that title at this point, but what I decide to do is put a bow at the top of that vase, kind of at the base of those flowers. Now, I have a bow builder punch from Stampin' Up. If you do not have a bow builder punch, all you have to do is make yourself a bow with some twine or even some ribbon. Anyway, I started with the blue one there. I end up going in the yellow, which is the same yellow cardstock that I cut my title out with. And I'm backing it in a bit of cardstock just to make it a bit more substantial, because I do want to add some foam adhesive there, and I'm happy with that. So now I'm looking for a spot for my title, and I end up going towards the top of the photo, so kind of in the top left-hand corner, and it's going to have bad on that doily scalloped circle piece, and boy is just going to kind of overlap the first word. It's going to overlap bad, and it's going to be on top of the photo. All I do after that is quite simply my journaling. That's it. Now, I could add a lot more to this page. I could have added leaves. I could have added little butterflies. I could have even added a cat. But clearly you can see with the embellishment I've created here, you can create the theme of your choice. This is not a feline page. It's just a vase of flowers. The reason why I didn't add a whole lot more to it, number one, I'm a little bit busy this week, so this was nice and easy. But also, if you look at the page, I'm using a whole bunch of different prints of paper, especially if you look at those flowers with the fishbone paper and the zigzag paper, and you look at the vase with all those stripes of paper. It's really quite busy with all of that printed paper. So I do like that there is a lot of room for the eye to rest with all the white spots. And that's just me. That's the way I scrapbook. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I'd greatly appreciate a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to Scrapbooking Quebec, I'd be absolutely thrilled if you did. Don't forget to check out the other ladies. Their links are in the description box below. Have a great day, and I'll see you soon on YouTube. Bye-bye.